With a few components placed, we can start talking about putting things together and placing them in a specific way. I'd like to start by stressing a schematic design is ultimately a communication tool. And if you place components in ridiculous places, nobody's going to understand what you're doing, and you'll be a sad person when you get email after email after email asking you to explain your schematic. So I would suggest you spend some solid thought on going through how you want your schematic to look and how you can make it clearest for the person that's going to be reading it. So let's start moving components around and playing with how they might want to look. To do that, we use the Move tool. And it's pretty straightforward. You grab a component, you move it, you can rotate it, and you can place it. So you click on it, you can move it wherever you want and place it, or you can click it while it's highlighted, you can right click, and that rotates the component 90 degrees. So let's find a few places for our components to go. Let's make a voltage divider here and here, and then let's pretend that this is another voltage divider. And for the capacitors, let's make it so that C1 is a decoupling capacitor from the power supplies, and C2 will help filter this voltage divider. Now I realize nobody really knows what's going on because without me connecting all these nodes, it's hard to understand. So let's make my schematic a little bit more clear to everybody by connecting everything with nets. Now we don't want to draw a line. That's what this is. It says wire. It's very tempting to click this and connect all your components. And while that can work if you have the right layer selected, it doesn't always work if you don't have things set up correctly. You want to draw an electrical connection with this net button. And this is about as simple as it gets. You just connect each component with the way you'd like it to be connected. So I'm going to connect this component to here, and I also would like to connect this component to here. You'll notice that this little dot, which denotes there's 3 wires connecting there, exists. If I were to have a wire go over a net, like this, there's no dot there. I'm going to undo that by using Control Z, and continue connecting my circuit, zooming in and out as I need with my scroll wheel. Now you might want to automatically connect it to here, however, that would look ugly. If I right-click, it changes the way my wire is routed, so that I can click here, and I'm good to go. And then I can move that, do the same thing, and the same thing here. So now it might be a little bit more clear what I'm trying to do. R1 and R2 create a voltage divider, and R3 and R4 create another voltage divider. C2 then uses R3 and R4 as a filter, and C1 is there as a decoupling cap or something to stabilize the voltage supply rail. Very simple circuit, very simple components. This is ultimately what you want to look at when you're arranging components and connecting up different nets. I'm also going to show how you can use net names to connect wires. I'm going to delete a few connections here. I'm going to use the delete tool. I'm going to delete that connection, and I'm going to add an entirely new net. And we can actually name nets and then use those names to connect them. First, you want to make the net visible. In order to do that, we place a label. So let's place this label here. I just named that net, or it was already named V+, thanks to it being connected to the V+ symbol. Now let's name this net, and that's enabled N$3, which is some random number that Eagle just comes up with. If I would like to connect N$3 to V+, all I have to do is change the name. This is the change name tool, so I can change the name here to V+. It asks me if I want to connect those two. Yes, which is essentially saying N$3 net no longer exists, V+ does. And now that V+ net is electrically connected. If I use my inspect tool or show tool and I click on the V+ net, you'll notice it highlighted the other V+ net. Now here, it's kind of stupid to show this because I could have just connected a wire right here. However, when you get to a large schematic with many different nets, you don't want to play to spaghetti. Again, a schematic is a communication tool. You want to be very clear to the next engineer that's going to be looking at your design. And that next engineer might even be you in a year or 2 years. So being very clear and making sure that your schematic looks nice is certainly time well spent.